On a bright spring afternoon in the heart of the city, Marcus Hale found himself sitting on a worn wooden bench beneath the shade of an old oak tree in Lincoln Park. The hum of life buzzed all around him. Children laughing on the playground, joggers pounding the pavement, and the distant clatter of vendors setting up food carts. It was a stark contrast to the years Marcus had spent in the military, where silence often meant danger. Here, in this urban oasis, he sought something he hadn't quite found since retiring from the Navy SEALs: peace. Marcus's sharp eyes scanned the crowd with a quiet vigilance, a habit he couldn't shed no matter how much he tried. His broad frame and weathered face told the story of a man who had seen too much. Yet his demeanor was calm, almost gentle. Today, he wore a simple navy blue jacket over a gray t-shirt, comfortable jeans, and a pair of well-worn boots. He had come to the park to clear his mind, to enjoy the simple pleasures of a city afternoon before returning to his modest apartment a few blocks away. Before we continue, make sure to like and subscribe to never miss a new video. And tell me, where are you watching this video from? I love seeing all different people come together for these stories. As he sipped his coffee, his attention was suddenly drawn to a commotion near the fountain, a popular meeting spot for locals. Two men, rough-looking, their movements aggressive, were closing in on a young woman whose face was etched with panic. Between them stood a large, golden-coated dog, poised and alert, its ears twitching as it sensed the tension escalating. Marcus's instincts kicked in immediately. The dog, a golden retriever with a shiny coat and intelligent eyes, was tethered to the woman by a leash, but the men were clearly trying to sever that connection. One of them reached out, fingers curled like claws, aiming to snatch the dog away. The woman's voice trembled as she shouted, "No, stop! That's my service dog." Marcus rose from the bench, the muscles in his shoulders tightening as he moved toward the scene. The park around them seemed to slow, the background noise fading into a dull roar as his focus sharpened on the unfolding crisis. He recognized the signs, the desperation in the woman's eyes, the predatory intent in the men's stance. Without hesitation, Marcus stepped between the aggressors and the woman, his presence commanding and resolute. "Back off," he said, his voice low but firm. The two men turned toward him, sizing up the unexpected obstacle. Marcus's gaze was unwavering, his posture relaxed but ready for action. He wasn't just a bystander. He was a protector, even if this wasn't a battlefield. The woman, visibly relieved, took a small step back, shielding the dog with her body. The dog, sensing Marcus as an ally, remained calm but alert, muscles coiled like a spring. The men hesitated, exchanging glances that flickered between frustration and calculation. Marcus glanced at the dog's collar, noting the small emblem that identified it as a service animal. He understood the bond between handler and dog, the silent communication, the trust, the reliance. This wasn't just a pet. It was a lifeline. "Why are you trying to take the dog?" Marcus asked, his tone steady but probing. The shorter of the two men sneered, "Mind your business, old man. This doesn't concern you." "It concerns me when people prey on the vulnerable," Marcus replied, his gaze hardening. He took a deliberate step forward, closing the distance. "Let her go and walk away." The tension thickened, the crowd around them beginning to take notice. A few passers-by slowed, sensing the brewing conflict, but none intervened. Marcus knew that if this escalated, it could turn ugly quickly. His training told him to de-escalate, but his instincts warned that these men weren't just petty thieves. They were dangerous. Suddenly, the taller man lunged toward the leash, aiming to snatch it forcibly. In a swift motion, Marcus grabbed his wrist, twisting it behind his back with controlled strength. The man grunted, surprised by the sudden resistance. "Enough," Marcus said, tightening his grip just enough to assert dominance without causing harm. "This dog stays with her." The woman's gratitude shone in her eyes as she whispered, "Thank you." Her name was Lily. Marcus would learn soon enough. And Echo was more than a dog. He was her guardian, trained to detect medical episodes and provide support in ways most people couldn't understand. The shorter man, seeing his comrade restrained, pulled a small knife from his pocket and flashed it threateningly. "You don't want to do this, old man." Marcus didn't flinch. Instead, he tilted his head slightly, voice calm but resolute. "Put it away before someone gets hurt." A tense silence fell, broken only by the soft panting of the golden retriever and the distant chatter of the park. Then, the taller man pulled back, signaling the other to retreat. They melted into the crowd, disappearing as quickly as they had appeared. Marcus released his hold, watching them go with narrowed eyes. He turned to Lily, who was still trembling but steadying herself. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. She nodded, swallowing hard. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't stepped in. Echo is trained to help me with my seizures. Without him, I'm vulnerable." Marcus crouched down to meet the dog's gaze. Echo's eyes were steady, intelligent. There was a quiet dignity in the way he sat, as if aware of the weight of the moment. "Service dogs like Echo aren't just animals," Marcus said softly. "They're partners, lifelines. Trying to steal one, that's not just theft. It's a crime against someone's safety." Lily looked up at him, hope flickering in her expression. "It's been happening more lately. People targeting service animals, selling them on the black market. I've heard stories, but I never thought it would happen to me." Marcus felt a surge of anger beneath the surface, a protective fire igniting inside him. This was the kind of injustice he couldn't ignore, the sort of fight he was built for even outside combat zones. "Do you want to press charges?" he asked. She hesitated, glancing down at Echo, who nuzzled her hand reassuringly. "I don't know. I'm scared. What if they come back?" Marcus stood, offering a steady presence in the swirling uncertainty. "You're not alone. I'll help you." As Lily took a shaky breath, the park's lively atmosphere returned around them. The laughter, the chatter, the distant bark of dogs playing in the grass. But for Marcus, the afternoon had shifted. What began as a quiet moment in the sun had turned into a call to action. He looked once more at the retreating figures who had tried to snatch Echo, their faces obscured, but their threat clear. Marcus's mind raced, piecing together the fragments of a troubling reality. This wasn't an isolated incident. It was part of something bigger, something darker, lurking beneath the city's surface. Echo leaned into Lily, his presence a steady anchor amid the chaos. Marcus knew this was just the beginning. The bond between a service dog and its handler was sacred, and he would do everything in his power to protect it. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the park, Marcus Hale made a silent vow. Justice wasn't just for the battlefield. It was for every corner of the world where the vulnerable needed a defender. And today, that meant standing with Lily and Echo against the threat that had found its way into their lives. The city around Marcus Hale hummed with its usual rhythm, but beneath the surface, his mind churned. The encounter at Lincoln Park had jolted him from the quiet routine he'd tried to build after years of military service. Now, As he walked alongside Lily and her service dog Echo toward a nearby cafe, the vibrant urban neighborhood unfolded in sharp contrast to the shadows creeping into their lives. The streets were alive with life. Street vendors calling out their wares, the rhythmic clatter of bicycle wheels on asphalt, and the chatter of neighbors greeting one another. Colorful murals adorned brick walls, telling stories of the city's diverse culture. Yet amidst this vitality, Marcus sensed an undercurrent of unease. He had seen this kind of tension before, in war zones and covert operations. When danger lurked just beneath the surface of everyday normalcy, Lily moved carefully, her steps measured, Echo close by her side. The dog's calm demeanor was a testament to the rigorous training he had undergone, a silent guardian whose presence gave her confidence. Marcus observed them quietly, noting the way Lily's fingers occasionally brushed Echo's fur, a subtle reassurance in a world that often felt unpredictable. As they settled at a corner table in the cafe, Marcus took a moment to study Lily more closely. She was in her late 20s, with soft features framed by chestnut hair pulled back into a loose ponytail. Her eyes, though tired, held a resilience that resonated deeply with Marcus, an echo of his own battles fought both abroad and within. "I'm glad you intervened back there," Lily said softly, stirring her tea. "It's not easy out here for someone like me." Marcus nodded, the weight of her words settling over him. "I can imagine. Service dogs are essential, not just companions, but lifelines. What you face, it's more than just theft. It's a violation of your independence." She sighed, eyes flickering toward Echo, who rested his head on her lap. "Exactly. Echo helps me manage my seizures. Without him, I'm vulnerable in ways most people can't understand. Losing him would be like losing a part of myself." Marcus leaned back, his thoughts drifting to the transition he had faced himself. From the high-stakes world of Navy SEAL missions to the uncertain terrain of civilian life. The discipline, the vigilance, and the sense of purpose had all shifted. But the instinct to protect, to serve, remained deeply ingrained. "You said these incidents have been happening more frequently?" Marcus asked, folding his hands on the table. Lily nodded. "Yes, I've heard of service dogs being targeted for illegal trade. It's a disturbing trend. People see these animals as valuable commodities, not as partners who save lives. It's terrifying." Marcus's jaw tightened. He recalled reports he'd skimmed through about underground markets dealing in everything from stolen electronics to exotic animals. But service dogs. The exploitation struck a nerve. These dogs weren't just property. They were trained, skilled, and integral to their handlers' well-being. "Do you have any idea who might be behind this?" Marcus inquired, his voice low but insistent. Lily hesitated, glancing around the cafe as if the walls might have ears. "I don't know much, but some whispers point to a network operating out of the city's fringes. People who prey on the vulnerable, exploiting medical disabilities for profit. It's hard to get concrete information. They operate in shadows." Marcus nodded thoughtfully. His military training taught him the importance of understanding the terrain, the enemy, and the stakes before making a move. This was no different. The city's vibrant streets hid dangerous secrets, and unraveling them would require patience and precision. "I've spent a lot of time in places where danger is constant," Marcus said quietly. "I'm used to gathering intel, planning operations. If you're willing, I can help you navigate this." Lily's eyes met his, a flicker of hope mingling with caution. "I want to believe there's a way to stop this. But I'm scared. What if they come after Echo again?" Marcus's gaze hardened with resolve. "That's why we need to be smart. We can't face them head-on without preparation. But together, we can protect you and Echo, and maybe expose whoever's behind this. The cafe around them buzzed with life, but in that small corner, a quiet alliance began to form. Marcus, the retired Navy SEAL seeking purpose beyond the battlefield, and Lily, the woman whose independence depended on her steadfast companion, Echo. As they spoke, Marcus found himself reflecting on his own journey. The transition from military service to civilian life had been turbulent. Moments of isolation, searching for meaning beyond the missions and camaraderie that once defined him. Yet here, in the midst of the city's pulse, he sensed a new mission taking shape. Protecting the vulnerable, standing up against injustice, even in unfamiliar territory. After finishing their drinks, Marcus and Lily stepped back out into the bustling streets. Echo walked steadily between them, his presence a constant reassurance. The city's sounds, honking cars, distant sirens, the murmur of conversations, formed a backdrop to their growing determination. Marcus glanced down an alleyway where shadows pooled, a reminder that danger often lurked in unexpected places. He knew the path ahead wouldn't be easy. The traffickers were likely organized, cautious, and ruthless. But Marcus had faced worse odds before. "We need to start gathering information," Marcus said. "Find out who these people are, how they operate. Do you know anyone else who's been targeted?" Lily nodded slowly. "There's a support group I attend. People with service dogs. Some have had close calls. Maybe we could talk to them, see if there's a pattern." "Good," Marcus replied. "The more we know, the better we can strategize." As they continued walking, Marcus felt a renewed sense of purpose. The city's vibrant energy, once a blur of noise and distraction, now held a sharper focus. Behind the scenes, a dangerous network threatened lives, exploiting those who relied on their canine partners for survival. Marcus's protective instincts, honed through years of discipline and sacrifice, stirred anew. This was a different kind of battlefield. But the mission was clear: to shield the innocent, to confront the shadows, and to bring justice where it was desperately needed. Echo trotted beside Lily, alert yet calm, embodying the quiet strength that defined their bond. Marcus knew their journey was just beginning. Together, they would navigate the complexities of a city rife with hidden dangers, uncover the truths buried beneath its surface, and stand firm against those who threatened the fragile trust between handler and dog. As the sun dipped lower, casting warm hues over the city skyline, Marcus felt the weight of his past and the possibilities of the future converge. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, he was ready to walk it. With purpose, resolve, and a newfound alliance that transcended the ordinary. The city's evening glow began to soften the sharp edges of the day as Marcus, Hale, and Lily parted ways outside the cafe. Echo, ever vigilant, sat obediently by Lily's side, his golden coat catching the fading light. But even as Lily moved to leave, the unease that had settled in Marcus's chest refused to dissipate. The encounter at Lincoln Park and their conversation had stirred something deep within him. A call to act, to protect. Marcus watched Lily disappear into the crowd, her silhouette merging with a throng of city dwellers. She was visibly shaken, but her determination was clear. Echo's steady presence was a lifeline for her, and Marcus knew the stakes were higher than he'd first realized. Turning away, Marcus's mind raced, piecing together what little he knew. The attempted theft wasn't random. It was calculated, targeted. These men had come prepared to take what wasn't theirs, likely part of a larger network exploiting vulnerable individuals like Lily. The question was how far the operation extended and how deeply it had infiltrated the city's underbelly. Back in his modest apartment, Marcus settled into his worn leather chair, the hum of the city filtering through the open window. He pulled out his phone and began scrolling through news articles and community forums, searching for any mention of similar incidents. Stories emerged. Reports of service dogs disappearing, owners left frightened and unsupported. The pattern was disturbing. His military instincts urged him to act methodically. This wasn't a matter of brute force. It required intelligence gathering, careful observation, and strategic planning. Marcus knew the importance of understanding the enemy before engaging. The next morning, Marcus made his way to a small community center on the edge of town, an unassuming building that housed a support group for individuals with disabilities who relied on service animals. Inside, a handful of people gathered, sharing stories and offering encouragement. Marcus listened quietly from the back, absorbing the conversations, noting names, incidents, and patterns. Lily was among them, her presence a reminder of the urgency. After the meeting, she introduced Marcus to a few members who had experienced similar threats. One woman spoke of a man lurking near her home, watching her and her dog. Another recounted a close call at a grocery store when someone tried to distract her and seize her service animal. Marcus's mind cataloged each detail, the pieces forming a mosaic of a coordinated effort rather than isolated events. The traffickers were exploiting knowledge of their targets' routines and vulnerabilities, operating with alarming precision. As the sun dipped again, Marcus and Lily convened at a quiet diner to discuss their findings. Lily's voice was steady but tinged with anxiety. "They're organized," she said. "They watch us, learn our habits. It's not just theft, it's intimidation." Marcus nodded, eyes scanning the bustling street outside. "We need to be proactive. Waiting for them to strike again puts you and Echo in danger." Lily hesitated, then asked, "What can we do?" Marcus met her gaze firmly. "We start by documenting everything, times, places, people who seem suspicious. We create a profile of their operation. Then, with the right allies, we can plan a sting to catch them in the act." The weight of the plan settled between them, but so did a sense of shared purpose. Marcus felt the familiar surge of determination, the same drive that had carried him through countless missions. This was his new battlefield, and protecting Lily and Echo was his mission. Over the following days, Marcus and Lily worked together, compiling information and mapping out patterns. Marcus tapped into his contacts, former military buddies, local law enforcement officers he trusted, to discreetly gather intelligence. The picture that emerged was grim. A network trafficking service dogs across state lines, exploiting the trust and vulnerability of their handlers. One evening, as they reviewed their notes in Marcus's apartment, Echo lay quietly at their feet, the bond between handler and dog palpable in the room's stillness. Lily's resolve strengthened with every new detail uncovered, and Marcus's protective instincts sharpened. "We need to be careful," Marcus cautioned. "They're dangerous and won't hesitate to escalate if they feel threatened." Lily nodded, her fingers brushing Echo's fur. "I want to help stop this, but I'm scared of what might happen." Marcus's voice was steady, reassuring. "You won't face this alone. We'll make sure you and Echo are safe." That night, Marcus lay awake, the familiar restlessness of a man preparing for battle settling in. He knew the road ahead would be fraught with risk and uncertainty, but he was ready. For Lily, for Echo, and for others caught in the crossfire, he would stand as a guardian once more. The city around him slept, unaware of the quiet war being waged in its shadows. But Marcus Hale was awake, alert, and ready to fight. The morning air was crisp as Marcus Hale stepped out of his apartment, the city's early bustle just beginning to stir. His mind was focused, the clarity that came with purpose settling over him like armor. Today was no ordinary day. It marked the beginning of a coordinated effort to protect those targeted and to confront the threat lurking in the shadows. As he made his way toward the community center, Marcus's thoughts drifted to Jamal, a young man he had met the previous evening. Jamal was a local who had noticed suspicious activity around the neighborhoods where service dog owners lived. Quick-witted and resourceful, Jamal had offered to help, eager to stand against the growing menace. Marcus knew allies like him were crucial, people embedded in the community with eyes and ears on the street. Inside the modest community center, Lily was already present, her demeanor steadier than before. Echo sat loyally at her side, alert but calm. The small group they had gathered was diverse, men and women of varying ages, each with their own story of reliance on service animals and the fear that came with recent threats. Marcus addressed the room, his voice measured but firm. "We're facing a serious problem. Organized criminals targeting service dogs for illegal trade. These attacks aren't random. They're part of a network exploiting vulnerable people. Our goal is to protect each other, gather information, and work with law enforcement to stop them." A murmur of agreement rippled through the group, mingled with apprehension. Marcus continued, "We'll need your help documenting any suspicious behavior, people watching, unusual vehicles, anything out of the ordinary. Every detail counts." Jamal stepped forward, his eyes bright with determination. "I've been keeping an eye on a few places. Warehouses on the city's edge, some abandoned buildings where I've seen strange comings and goings. I think that's where they're operating from." Marcus nodded, appreciating the lead. "Good work. We'll look into those locations. But we have to be careful. These people are dangerous and well-connected." The group spent the next hour sharing experiences and tips, building a network of vigilance. Marcus and Jamal exchanged contact information, planning to coordinate surveillance discreetly. Lily listened intently, her initial fear gradually transforming into resolve. After the meeting, Marcus and Jamal walked outside, the city's hum filling the space between them. Jamal pulled out his phone, showing Marcus photos he had taken of the suspected warehouse district, rusted crates, shadowed doorways, and vehicles parked at odd hours. "We'll need to get a closer look without tipping them off," Marcus said thoughtfully. "Reconnaissance first, then we'll plan an approach." Jamal nodded. "I know some folks in the neighborhood who can help. They're used to keeping to themselves, but willing to watch and report." As they strategized, Marcus felt the familiar surge of teamwork and trust, the kind that had defined his years in the SEALs. This was different terrain, but the principles remained the same. Gather intelligence, build alliances, and act decisively. Later that day, Marcus reached out to a trusted contact in the local police department, Detective Marissa Cole. She was known for her integrity and dedication, someone who could be counted on to handle sensitive information without leaks. Marcus briefed her on the situation, emphasizing the need for discretion and swift action. Detective Cole agreed to assign undercover officers to monitor the suspected locations, coordinating with Marcus and Jamal's community network. The partnership marked a critical step in bridging the gap between civilian vigilance and official enforcement. Meanwhile, Lily continued to connect with others in the support group, encouraging them to stay alert and share any new information. Her courage grew with each conversation, buoyed by the knowledge that she was not alone. That evening, Marcus met with Jamal in a quiet diner to review the latest updates. Jamal's contacts had reported increased activity near the warehouses, unfamiliar faces, late-night meetings, and suspicious vehicle movements. "We're close," Marcus said, eyes narrowed with focus. "We just need to be patient and precise." Jamal smiled, a mix of excitement and caution. "I'm ready when you are." As night fell over the city, Marcus prepared for the next phase of their operation. He knew the importance of timing and coordination, the difference between success and chaos. The stakes were high, but so was the resolve of everyone involved. Back at his apartment, Marcus reviewed the gathered intelligence, cross-referencing details and planning contingencies. Echo's calm presence was a reminder of what they were fighting to protect. Not just dogs, but the fragile independence and dignity of those who relied on them. In the quiet moments before sleep, Marcus allowed himself a brief reflection. The path ahead was fraught with danger, but the bonds forged in these early days between Marcus, Lily, Jamal, and the community were a source of strength. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. They would move from vigilance to action, stepping into the shadows to confront a hidden threat. And Marcus Hale, once a soldier on distant battlefields, was ready to lead this new mission with unwavering resolve. The city's streets held a different kind of tension now, one that Marcus Hale could feel pulsing beneath the surface, quiet but insistent. The community's vigilance was growing, and the network targeting service dogs was no longer just a shadowy rumor whispered in hushed tones. It had become a palpable threat, a dark undercurrent threatening the independence and safety of those who relied on their canine partners. Marcus sat across from Lily in a small, sunlit cafe, the hum of morning traffic outside barely penetrating the bubble of calm they had carved out. Echo lay patiently at her feet, his golden eyes alert, reflecting the weight of the moment. The conversation between them was subdued but urgent. "You mentioned that Echo helps you manage your seizures," Marcus said gently, wanting to understand the depth of the bond. "Can you tell me more about how he assists you?" Lily nodded, her fingers tracing a gentle line along Echo's fur. "Echo is trained to recognize the subtle signs before a seizure starts. Changes in my scent, behavior, even my breathing. When he senses something, he alerts me so I can take precautions. Sometimes he helps steady me or fetches help if I need it. Without him, I'm vulnerable." Marcus absorbed her words, the gravity of the situation settling deeper in his mind. This wasn't just about stolen animals. It was about stolen security, stolen independence. "That makes the threat against you and Echo even more personal," he said softly. "They're not just trying to take a dog, they're trying to take your safety." Lily's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "Exactly. It's terrifying. I've heard of others whose dogs were taken during seizures, leaving them helpless." Marcus's jaw tightened. "That's why we have to stop this. We need to understand who's behind it and how they're operating." Over the next hour, Lily shared stories she had gathered from the support group and online forums, accounts of intimidation, theft, and the black market trade of service animals. The traffickers were sophisticated, exploiting the trust and routine of their targets. They struck when handlers were most vulnerable, using distraction and force to seize the dogs. Marcus listened intently, his mind cataloging every detail. His military experience taught him the importance of intelligence, the foundation of any successful operation. This information would be crucial in anticipating the traffickers' moves. "I want to help," Lily said, her voice steady despite the fear beneath it. "If there's a way to protect others, I want to be part of it." Marcus's expression softened. "Your courage is inspiring. Together, we'll build a plan. But first, We need to gather more concrete evidence: names, locations, times. The more we know, the stronger our case. They discussed strategies to document suspicious activity safely, using discrete recordings, detailed notes, and coordinated reports to law enforcement. Marcus emphasized the importance of caution. The traffickers were dangerous and would retaliate if threatened. As their meeting concluded, Lily's resolve was evident. Echo's presence was a constant reminder of what was at stake, and Marcus felt a renewed sense of responsibility. Protecting her meant protecting countless others who depended on their service dogs. Outside the cafe, the city moved on, unaware of the quiet alliance forming inside. Marcus and Lily were no longer just individuals facing a threat. They were part of a growing movement determined to reclaim safety and justice. Later that day, Marcus connected with Jamal, sharing the insights from his conversation with Lily. Jamal's network was already tracking unusual activity near the suspected warehouses, and the new information helped refine their focus. "We're close," Jamal said over the phone. "The pieces are coming together." Marcus agreed, feeling the familiar surge of determination. "We need to keep pressing. The traffickers won't stop unless we make it clear they're being watched." As night fell, Marcus reflected on the day's progress. The challenge ahead was daunting, but the bonds forged, the trust between him, Lily, Jamal, and the community, provided a foundation stronger than any obstacle. Echo rested at Lily's side, a silent guardian in a city shadowed by unseen dangers. And Marcus Hale, once a soldier fighting distant wars, was now preparing to battle a menace closer to home, armed with resolve, compassion, and a steadfast commitment to justice. The gray dawn seeped through the blinds of Marcus Hale's apartment, casting long shadows across the cluttered desk where maps, notes, and photographs lay scattered. The quiet of early morning was a stark contrast to the storm brewing beneath the city's surface. A storm Marcus and his growing team were determined to weather. Today marked a turning point, the gathering of evidence that would expose a ruthless network exploiting service dogs and the people who depended on them. Marcus sat back, rubbing the bridge of his nose as he reviewed the latest intelligence. Lily's courage and Jamal's streetwise insights had woven a tapestry of clues pointing toward a sprawling operation. It wasn't just a handful of criminals. It was an organized ring, trafficking service dogs for profit, preying on the vulnerable with calculated precision. He reached for his phone and dialed Lily's number. Her voice, steady but tinged with fatigue, answered on the second ring. "Morning, Marcus." "Morning, Lily. I've been going over everything we've collected. We're starting to see the full picture, a network that spans multiple neighborhoods, possibly beyond the city. We need to tighten our grip." Lily sighed softly. "It's overwhelming, but I'm ready to do whatever it takes." "Good. I want you to keep documenting anything unusual. Pictures, descriptions, times. Everything helps. And be careful. These people don't hesitate to escalate." She nodded, though he couldn't see her. "I understand. Echo and I will stay vigilant." After hanging up, Marcus stood and moved to the window, looking out over the city awakening below. The streets would soon fill with commuters, unaware of the quiet battle unfolding in their midst. Later that day, Marcus met with Jamal in a nondescript cafe, their conversation low and purposeful. Jamal slid a folder across the table. Photos, license plates, and notes from neighborhood watch volunteers. "These vehicles keep showing up near the warehouses," Jamal said. "Different plates, but the same models. We think they're part of the trafficking." Marcus studied the images, noting patterns in timing and location. "We'll cross-reference these with traffic cams and see if we can trace routes." Jamal nodded. "Also, Some residents mentioned late-night deliveries, crates, packages, coming and going. No one's dared to confront them. "Which means we need to act carefully," Marcus replied. "I've been in contact with Detective Cole. She's arranging for undercover officers to monitor these spots." The gravity of the operation settled between them. They were no longer just gathering information. They were building the foundation for an intervention. In the following days, Marcus coordinated with law enforcement, community members, and Lily's support group. They compiled reports of suspicious activity, creating a detailed dossier that exposed the traffickers' methods, targeting handlers during vulnerable moments, using distraction tactics, and moving stolen dogs through a network of safe houses. One evening, as Marcus reviewed the evidence, his phone buzzed with a message from Lily. "Saw a new face near my building today. Felt watched. Stay alert." Marcus's heart quickened. The traffickers were closing in, sensing the pressure mounting. He immediately contacted Jamal. "Increase surveillance. We can't let them intimidate her." Jamal's reply was swift. "Already on it. We've got eyes everywhere." The next day, Marcus met with Lily and Echo at the park, where their journey had begun. The familiar surroundings offered a brief respite from the tension. "Your vigilance is making a difference," Marcus said, kneeling beside Echo. "We're gathering the proof we need to bring this down." Lily smiled, though the worry lingered. "I just want to make sure no one else has to go through this." Marcus placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We will. This ends with us." As night fell, the city's lights flickered like distant stars, a reminder of countless lives intertwined in its web. Marcus knew the path ahead would be dangerous, but armed with evidence and alliances, they were ready to strike at the heart of the trafficking ring. Echo rested at Lily's feet, a symbol of resilience and hope. And Marcus Hale, once a soldier navigating foreign battlefields, now prepared to dismantle a hidden menace threatening his own city. One step closer to justice, with every piece of evidence uncovered. Night had fallen over the city, shrouding its streets in shadows that seemed to pulse with a hidden menace. Marcus Hale stood beside Jamal in a parked car several blocks from the warehouse district, his eyes scanning the dimly lit buildings ahead. The air was thick with anticipation, the culmination of weeks of careful planning and intelligence gathering converging into this moment. Inside the folder on Marcus's lap were the final pieces of evidence. Photographs of illicit transactions, license plates linked to the trafficking ring, and detailed logs compiled by community members and undercover officers. Tonight, they would put it all to the test. Jamal adjusted his cap, glancing nervously toward the warehouse's entrance, where a few figures loitered. "You think they're expecting us?" Marcus shook his head, voice low but steady. "They don't know we're watching yet. That's our advantage." The operation had been meticulously coordinated with Detective Marissa Cole and her team. Undercover officers were embedded nearby, ready to move at a moment's notice. The plan was simple but risky. Lure the traffickers into a trap by staging a fake sale of a service dog, bait designed to expose the ringleader and his cohorts. As the clock edged closer to midnight, a black van pulled up slowly, its headlights off. Two men stepped out, scanning the area with practiced caution. Jamal's grip tightened on the radio as he whispered, "They're here." Marcus's heart pounded, not from fear, but from the surge of adrenaline that came with the hunt. He adjusted his earpiece, listening to the subtle crackle of communications between the team. The traffickers moved toward the warehouse entrance, unaware that cameras hidden in the shadows were recording every step. Moments later, a third man appeared, carrying a crate that emitted faint whimpers. The stage dog, carefully trained to play its part in the deception. Inside the warehouse, the atmosphere was tense. The traffickers exchanged curt words, their eyes sharp and suspicious. Marcus watched from his vantage point, noting their movements, their interaction, and the subtle signals that betrayed their nervousness. Suddenly, a flash of movement. An undercover detective stepped forward, revealing her badge. "Police, everyone stay where you are." Chaos erupted. The traffickers lunged toward the exits, shouting orders, but the perimeter was sealed. Jamal and Marcus sprang into action, moving swiftly to block escape routes. A struggle ensued as officers apprehended the men. One trafficker, the ringleader, fought fiercely, using a concealed knife to threaten the closest officer. Marcus reacted instantly, disarming the man with precise force honed by years of training. The ringleader collapsed, restrained but defiant. As the dust settled, the undercover team found cages containing several service dogs, some injured but alive. Echoes of relief rippled through the group as the animals were gently freed, their handlers waiting anxiously outside. Marcus approached Lily, who had been kept safe at a secure location. Her eyes brimmed with tears as she embraced Echo, who wagged his tail weakly but steadily. "We did it," Marcus said quietly, the weight of victory tempered by the knowledge of the fight ahead. Detective Cole stepped forward, addressing the gathered officers and volunteers. "This operation is just the beginning. Thanks to everyone's courage and cooperation, we've struck a major blow against this cruel trafficking ring." Later, in a debriefing room bathed in harsh fluorescent light, Marcus and Jamal reviewed the night's events. The ringleader had revealed details of their network, safe houses, accomplices, and routes used to transport stolen dogs across state lines. "We've only scratched the surface," Marcus said, determination burning in his eyes. "But now we have the evidence and the momentum to dismantle the entire operation." Jamal nodded, a tired but satisfied smile crossing his face. "Feels good to make a real difference." As dawn approached, Marcus stepped outside, the cool morning air filling his lungs. Echo, now fully recovered, trotted beside him, a living symbol of resilience. The city was waking up, unaware of the night's silent victory. Marcus knew the road ahead would be long, but tonight had reaffirmed his purpose. Protecting the vulnerable, standing against injustice. This was his mission now. And with allies like Lily, Jamal, and Detective Cole, he was ready for whatever came next. The early morning light filtered through the blinds of the small conference room where Marcus Hale sat with Detective Marissa Cole and representatives from the local service dog advocacy group. The atmosphere was taut with focused energy, a shared determination to dismantle the trafficking ring that had preyed on so many vulnerable lives. The sting operation had cracked the surface, but now came the work of strategic planning and coordinated action. Detective Cole cleared her throat, tapping a digital tablet to project a detailed map of the city's outskirts onto the wall. Multiple red markers dotted the screen. Warehouses, safe houses, and known trafficking routes identified through the ringleader's confession and ongoing intelligence gathering. "We've confirmed at least 5 key locations used by the network," Cole explained. "Our goal is to execute coordinated raids simultaneously to prevent any warning or escape." Marcus studied the map, fingers steepled as he weighed the operational challenges. "The traffickers are armed and desperate. We need teams skilled in close quarters tactics, capable of securing the animals quickly and safely while minimizing risk to our people." A representative from the advocacy group, a woman named Sarah, spoke up with urgency. "Many of these dogs have special needs. Some require immediate medical attention or calming techniques specific to their training. We must have qualified handlers on site." Marcus nodded. "Agreed. We'll coordinate with veterinary professionals and experienced service dog trainers to ensure each animal receives proper care post-rescue. Detective Cole's gaze sharpened. We also need to consider containment and transport. The traffickers have used multiple vehicles and routes to move the dogs across state lines. Disrupting their logistics is critical. Jamal, who had joined the meeting via video call, added, "Local contacts and volunteers have been invaluable in monitoring suspicious activity. I can organize rapid communication networks to support the raids and provide real-time updates." Marcus appreciated the comprehensive approach. This was no longer a solo mission. It was a coalition effort, blending law enforcement, community vigilance, and specialized care. Timing is essential, Marcus emphasized. We can't afford leaks or errors. I recommend a final briefing with all teams 24 hours before the operation. We'll rehearse entry tactics, communication protocols, and contingency plans. Detective Cole agreed. I'll ensure all participating officers undergo briefings on the unique challenges of handling service animals during raids. As the meeting progressed, they mapped out the logistics of the raids, securing perimeter control, establishing triage zones for rescued dogs, and coordinating with local hospitals for handlers who might be affected by the operation's stress. Sarah detailed plans for temporary housing of the animals, including quarantine measures to prevent disease spread and psychological support to help them recover from trauma. Marcus felt a surge of respect for the advocacy group's dedication. Their expertise was critical to the mission's success and the animals' well-being. Before the meeting adjourned, Marcus addressed the group. This operation will require precision, courage, and compassion. Every one of us plays a vital role. We're not just rescuing dogs, we're restoring dignity and safety to their handlers and communities. As the participants dispersed, Marcus lingered, reviewing the maps and notes. The scale of the operation was daunting, but the groundwork laid so far promised a well-orchestrated strike. Later that evening, Marcus met with Lily and Echo in the quiet park where their journey had begun. Lily's eyes reflected a mixture of hope and apprehension. "I'm scared," she admitted softly. "But I trust you. I want to help stop this. For everyone." Marcus squeezed her hand gently. "We'll do everything we can to protect you and Echo. Your strength has been a beacon for all of us." Echo rested his head on Lily's lap, a living emblem of resilience. As the city lights flickered against the darkening sky, Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settle firmly on his shoulders. The raids would come soon, and with them, the promise of justice. But he knew the real victory would be in the healing that followed, the reunions, the restored freedom, and the hope rekindled in those who had suffered in silence. Tomorrow, they would move from planning to action. And Marcus Hale, surrounded by allies united in purpose, was ready to lead the charge. The cold pre-dawn air was sharp against Marcus Hale's face as he stood alongside Detective Marissa Cole and their assembled tactical teams at the edge of the warehouse district. The city was still. The streets empty except for the quiet hum of engines and the faint rustle of wind through cracked pavement. This was the moment they had prepared for. A coordinated strike to dismantle the trafficking ring that had haunted service dog handlers for too long. Marcus scanned the faces around him, seasoned officers, veterinary professionals, service dog trainers, and volunteers, all ready for the hours ahead. The tension was palpable, but so was the resolve. Each person understood the mission's gravity: to rescue stolen animals, apprehend criminals, and restore safety to countless vulnerable lives. Detective Cole's voice broke the silence. "Teams Alpha through Echo, you know the plan. Entry points, communication protocols, and extraction routes are set. Remember, the priority is the safety of the animals and the handlers. Let's bring everyone home." Marcus checked his gear one final time, the familiar weight grounding him. Echo sat patiently beside Lily, who had been brought to a secure location to await the operation's outcome. The dog's steady gaze was a reminder of what they fought for. As the teams moved into position, Marcus coordinated with Jamal, who was monitoring neighborhood watch communications and providing real-time updates from field contacts. Minutes later, radios crackled to life with the first reports. Team Alpha breached the eastern warehouse, encountering minimal resistance. Officers quickly secured the perimeter and began locating cages where service dogs were held. Marcus listened intently as Team Bravo reported a tense standoff in a nearby safe house. The traffickers were armed but outnumbered. Negotiators had been dispatched, aiming for a peaceful surrender to avoid harm to the animals inside. Throughout the operation, Marcus remained in close communication with all units, adjusting tactics as new information flowed in. Veterinary teams moved swiftly, tending to dogs found dehydrated or injured, administering first aid and calming anxious animals. In one warehouse, Marcus personally assisted a handler reunited with her service dog. A joyful, tearful moment that underscored the mission's purpose. The woman clung to her companion, whispering words of gratitude as the dog licked her face, sensing the relief. As dawn broke, the raids concluded with multiple arrests. The ringleader and several key operatives were taken into custody, their plans unraveled by the evidence gathered over weeks. Detective Cole addressed the teams via radio, her voice steady but proud. Excellent work, everyone. This is a major victory for justice and the community. Marcus exhaled deeply, the weight of tension lifting. But he knew this was only the beginning. The trafficking ring's reach extended beyond the city limits, and dismantling it entirely would require continued vigilance. Later, at a secure facility, the rescued service dogs were released from their cages, some stumbling but eager to reunite with their handlers. Lily and Echo's reunion was tender. Echo's tail wagging as he nuzzled her face, a living testament to resilience. Marcus watched quietly, a sense of fulfillment washing over him. The operation had saved lives and sent a powerful message to those who preyed on the vulnerable. As he prepared to brief the media alongside Detective Cole, Marcus reflected on the journey. From that first intervention in the park to this decisive moment. The fight against injustice was far from over, but tonight, hope had been restored. And Marcus Hale stood ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, steadfast in his mission to protect those who could not protect themselves. The sun cast warm golden rays across Silver Ridge's newly established Wildlife Rescue Center, its rustic wooden beams glowing in the early morning light. The center thrummed with quiet life, volunteers bustling about, staff tending to animals, and the soft murmur of hopeful voices, blending with the occasional bark and chirp from enclosures. Amidst this vibrant scene stood Marcus Hale, his gaze steady as he watched Lily and Echo moving through the grounds, their bond unbroken and stronger than ever. Months had passed since the daring raids that dismantled the vicious trafficking ring preying on service dogs and their handlers. The scars of that dark chapter remained, but so did the resilience and renewed sense of purpose that had blossomed in its wake. Silver Ridge was no longer just a quiet mountain town. It was a beacon of hope and sanctuary for those who had suffered and survived. Marcus felt the weight of his journey settle into a steady calm. After years of fighting battles abroad, he had found a new mission here. One that demanded not only strength, but compassion and unwavering dedication. The rescue center symbolized that mission, a place where healing was possible for both animals and people. Lily approached, Echo trotting happily beside her, and greeted Marcus with a warm smile. It's incredible to see how far we've come, she said softly, her eyes reflecting gratitude and determination. Marcus nodded, his expression thoughtful. None of this would have been possible without your courage. You showed us the importance of standing up, not just for ourselves, but for everyone who can't. Nearby, Brina, the local park ranger who had joined their cause early on, coordinated the release of rehabilitated wildlife back into the surrounding forests. Her dedication to protecting the natural world now extended to safeguarding the lives disrupted by human greed and cruelty. As the day unfolded, Marcus joined a meeting with the center's leadership team, discussing plans to expand outreach programs aimed at educating the public about service dog protection and the dangers of trafficking. Partnerships with law enforcement and advocacy groups were strengthening, ensuring vigilance continued beyond their borders. Later, Marcus found a quiet moment beside the center's small pond, Echo settling at his feet. The dog's steady presence was a comforting reminder of the bond forged through adversity, a bond that had inspired a community to rise against injustice. Reflecting on the path that had led him here, Marcus understood that true peace wasn't found in solitude, but in purpose shared with others. The rescue center was more than a facility. It was a testament to resilience, justice, and hope. As the sun dipped behind the mountains, casting long shadows over Silver Ridge, Marcus stood with Lily, Brina, and Echo, their faces illuminated by the fading light. Together, they embodied the strength born from hardship and the promise of a future where compassion triumphed over cruelty. The journey had been long and fraught with danger, but their shared mission had forged unbreakable bonds, a family united by a common goal. And as night settled over the town, the rescue center's lights shone brightly, a symbol of hope and resilience for all who sought refuge within its walls.